Hello, everybody. My name is Dee, and welcome to Books and Quirks. Today is Friday, so it's time for another Friday Reads. I'm just going to quickly tell you the books that I finished and the books that I will be continuing on with this coming week. So, this was a really busy work week for me, so I didn't have a whole lot of time to read, but I did complete two buddy reads. So, the first one is Dragon's Fool, and I will link all of the people. It's the usual crew that I buddy read with: Sean, Mel, Candace, and Cheryl. And this was a fantasy, sort of a medieval fantasy world where dragons exist, and dragons are actually the rulers of each town. And I enjoyed this book for what it was. I wound up giving it 3 stars. We finished it just the other day, or rather, I should say, earlier this week. Yeah, so I would say that this book is really about a group of misfits that go on a quest to try to kill the dragons because they're really living under oppression. The dragons are taxing every dollar that they make. It's really the village that the first book starts out with is really, a poor village, a farming village, and it's ruled by a dragon called Mathrax. And he really takes them for every coin that they make. And our main character, Will, in the first book, at the beginning of the first book, is his farm is taken away from him and he is forced to flee for his life because the dragon guards are after him. And while he's running away, he meets a bunch of other misfits, a couple of thieves, a woman who has magical powers, but she's reformed herself and doesn't want to use her magical powers, and also a raving older man who may or may not be crazy. So I enjoyed this book for what it was. I thought it was extremely funny, but I have to warn you, this book is extremely vulgar and really heavy. I mean, really, really heavy on the foul language. So if that's something that will turn you off, then I definitely would not give this book a try because it starts off right away with a lot of cursing. So cursing doesn't really bother me too much, unless it's like every other word, which does happen sometimes in this book, then I don't really mind it. I thought the writing of this book was okay. It's not up to the standard of, the very popular, well-known fantasy writers like Sanderson or something like that. But it was good for what it was. I'm glad I read it. I'm not sure if I will continue on with the series because it is a series, but I really thought parts of this book were very funny, and yeah, it was just kind of an okay read. And yeah, so that was The Dragon Lords by John Hollins. The next book that I finished was a buddy read that I did with Cheryl over at CR Flames Fan, and that was The Heresy by S.J. Paris. Now, I talked about this a bit last week, so I won't go into it again. Just, it's an Elizabethan thriller. It takes place in Elizabethan times in London, and it follows an Italian monk, or former monk, I should say, and he goes to Oxford under the pretense of thinking differently about the universe. During this time, everyone thought that the Earth was the center of the universe and everything revolved around the Earth. And he has the idea that no, the Earth is not the center of the universe. The sun is the center of the galaxy, and the Earth revolves around the sun, and the universe actually is infinite. So, but while there, some murders happen and he is on a quest to find out what happened. So although it's called an Elizabethan thriller, I think this is more of a murder mystery. I really enjoyed it. And we do plan on continuing on in the series. So I wound up giving this book, I think it was 4 stars, I'm not sure. but I think it was 4 stars that I gave it. So those were really the only 2 books that I finished this past week, but I do plan on hopefully getting a lot of reading done this week, and I have 3 buddy reads coming up. So let me just start with the sequel to Heresy, which is the book I just spoke about, and I finished this past week. So the second book I actually have on ebook, and it's called Prophecy, and it's another, murder mystery type story following, I think, probably the same main character. His name is Bruno. And it, again, takes place during Elizabethan times. So we'll have to see how the second book is, Prophecy. I have it on ebook. And yeah, hopefully it's very good. And we'll be starting this at some point this weekend. So the next book that I'll be starting at some point this weekend is The Stone Sky, which is the 3rd book in the... So the name of the series is the Broken Earth series. The 5th season is book 1, but we'll be reading book 3 together, which is called The Stone Sky. And I will put a picture. So we read the first 2 books together, and I'll be reading, if I didn't mention, I'll be reading with Candace over at Beacon Hill Books, and I will link everybody below. Candace and I had a blast reading the first 2 books together, so we cannot wait to get to the 3rd. It's been a few months since we finished the 2nd book, so hopefully it's just as good. I really enjoyed this series. We both, I think, really enjoyed this series. And yeah, I just cannot wait to finish up this trilogy and see what happens to these characters that I've grown to really care about. I will link below my review for the first book, the 5th season, in case you want to know more about that book. It's been a long time since I read the 2nd book, so I'm not sure that I would be able to give a good synopsis now. But it is a very good fantasy series, and I'm really looking forward to getting back with these characters. And the final book that I'll be buddy reading this week is Saint's Blood by Sebastian de Castell, and I'll be buddy reading this with Amber over at Amber Eats Books. We read the 2nd book together, and we really enjoyed it, and we're ready to get back into this. This is the 3rd book in the Great Coat series, and as I said before, it's sort of reminiscent of like the Three Musketeers. So I'll just read you the first little blurb in front of the book. It says, Traitor's Blade, which is the 1st book in the series, is a swashbuckling romp packed with charisma, camaraderie, quick wit, and even quicker swordplay. And that is really a good way to describe these books. I talked about them before, but they're just so... I have to say, the best thing about these books is that they're funny. The wit is so like on point, and I really had such a fun time reading the 2nd book. I mean, I love the 1st book too, but the 2nd book, I mean, I was just laughing so much. I just really love these books. It's a 4-book series, so this is the 3rd book that we'll be starting on Monday together. The 3 main characters in this book are Falkio, Kest, and Brosty, and they are former Greatcoats. Greatcoats were sort of protectors of the king, but they have since disbanded. When the king died, they disbanded. They were looked down upon. Even their cloaks were in tatters, so people made fun of them by calling them tattered cloaks. But they're still very much, these 3 are very good friends, and they're still very much wanting to follow through with the king's last wishes. They constantly fall into these situations where they're having to fight their way out of it. It's a whole lot of fun. It's a lot of action. So if you want an action-packed book, that the action is from beginning to end, there's really no slow points in these books. These books are just, fast-paced. Even though they're quite thick, it doesn't feel that way when you're reading it. So because I'm buddy reading it, it will probably take us about 2 weeks to get through, because it is almost 600 pages. So it is quite a big book. But I cannot wait to get into this as well on Monday. So that is all I have for you. I know that was very quick. Again, I'll leave some information in the description below, more information on the 5th season, as well as um, all of the channels for all of the people that I'm buddy reading with. This should be a good action-packed week, and I really look forward to it. I hope wherever you are, you're staying cool during the summer months. I hope you're having some fun wherever you are. It's sunny and nice out. You know, the big heat wave that we were, although the temperature fluctuates, but the big heat wave that we were having last week has gone. The temperature has gone back down into the low to mid 80s as a high. So that's like, you know, really good weather, I think. And that's the kind of weather that I really enjoy rather than when it gets above 90. But anyway, I hope you all have a good weekend and I will see you all next time. Bye.